Hey everyone. Welcome to Unheard Stories, the channel where we dive deep into the most jaw-dropping tales of betrayal, revenge, and heartbreak. If you've ever felt like life has thrown you a curveball, or if you've experienced a relationship that took an unexpected turn, you're in the right place. We explore stories that aren't just shocking, they're real, raw, and might just leave you thinking about them long after the video ends. Before we get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an unbelievable story like today's. And let me know, where you all from? Drop a comment below, I'd love to hear from you all. Trust me, today's story will have you on the edge of your seat. It's about a man who was betrayed by someone he loved and trusted deeply, his wife. But what happens next? Well, let's just say revenge never looked so sweet. Stay tuned because this story is about to take some wild turns. Meet Alex, a dedicated, hardworking guy in his early 30s, who believed in the sanctity of love and commitment. He had been married to Sophia, a beautiful, charming woman, for 5 years. At first, their marriage had been everything Alex could have hoped for, filled with laughter, shared dreams, and late-night conversations. But as the years passed, things began to change. Alex and Sophia had settled into a comfortable routine. Alex was working long hours, always trying to provide more for their future. His career was demanding, but he thought it was all worth it. Sophia, on the other hand, had become quieter, more distant. She no longer smiled the same way when she saw him after a long day. At first, Alex brushed it off, blaming work stress or the pressures of life. But something was different, and deep down, Alex could feel it. Sophia's late-night meetings, her frequent phone calls that she would quickly end when Alex walked into the room. These small changes didn't go unnoticed. But Alex had always trusted her, so he convinced himself that everything was fine. He didn't want to believe the worst, especially when things at work had been so overwhelming. Sophia was his wife, his partner, he believed in her. Then one day things came to a head. It was a Friday night, and Alex had just wrapped up a big project at work. He came home early, eager to surprise Sophia and spend some quality time together. But as he opened the door to their apartment, something didn't feel right. Sophia's phone, which she usually left on the kitchen counter, was sitting on the couch with a new message notification flashing on the screen. Alex hesitated. Normally he wouldn't invade her privacy, but something felt off. Curiosity gnawed at him and he picked up the phone. The message was from Liam, a colleague of Sophia's who Alex knew only vaguely. The message read, "I can't wait to see you tonight. I'll bring the wine. You bring the fun." Alex's heart dropped. He stared at the screen trying to process the words. Could this really be happening? His mind raced. Why hadn't she told him? Why had she kept this secret? With shaking hands, Alex confronted Sophia. At first, she denied everything, claiming it was just an innocent friendship. But Alex wasn't fooled. He had seen the look in her eyes when she lied. As the tension grew, Sophia finally admitted the truth. She had been seeing Liam, a colleague from her office, for months. The affair had started innocently enough, but over time, Sophia had grown emotionally involved. She claimed she had been feeling neglected by Alex, who had been too focused on his career to notice the distance growing between them. Sophia's words were sharp, defensive. "You were always so busy with work, Alex. I needed someone who actually paid attention to me. Liam was there when you weren't. I never wanted to hurt you, but I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine." Alex felt like the world had just crumbled beneath his feet. The woman he had trusted the most, the woman he had built a life with, had betrayed him. The rage and hurt inside him were overwhelming, but he couldn't bring himself to say anything. Instead, he just stood there, staring at Sophia, feeling a mix of disbelief and utter heartbreak. Sophia tried to justify her actions further, shifting the blame back onto Alex. "You didn't notice me, Alex. You didn't see the signs. I was lonely. You were always at work, always so focused on your career that I was just left in the background. I had needs too. I needed someone to make me feel alive again." Alex's head spun. Lonely? Was that what this had come to? He tried to make sense of her words, but the truth was staring him in the face. The betrayal was real. The affair wasn't just physical, it was emotional too. And it had been happening for months. But Alex wasn't the type to let his emotions control him. In a calm, measured voice, he finally spoke, the weight of his words hitting harder than he intended. "If you were unhappy, you should have said something. You should have left me if you were so miserable. But instead you chose to lie. That's on you, Sophia, not me." Her lip curled and she folded her arms across her chest. "Fine," she said bitterly. "You want to play the victim? Go ahead. But don't act like you're innocent in all of this. You're just as much to blame as I am." Sophia's words stung, but Alex had heard enough. He knew what he had to do. He had spent far too long trying to make sense of Sophia's actions, justifying them in his mind, thinking maybe it was just a phase. But now the truth was clear. She had made her choice. And now it was time for him to make his. Alex stood in the middle of the bedroom, still reeling from the shock of Sophia's confession. The weight of her words hung in the air, suffocating him. "I didn't want to hurt you, Alex. But Liam makes me feel alive. You've been so busy with your work you didn't even notice I was fading away." The pain of hearing those words was excruciating, but Alex wasn't going to let his emotions completely take over. This wasn't about feelings right now, it was about the truth and what needed to happen next. He had spent years believing in their marriage, giving everything he had. He had worked long hours, sacrificed time with friends and family, all to make sure Sophia was taken care of. And now, to learn that she had been betraying him all along, using the very time he dedicated to them for her own selfish desires, it was a betrayal that cut deeper than anything he'd ever experienced. His voice barely above a whisper, Alex spoke again. "I'm done, Sophia. This is over." Sophia, clearly taken aback by his calmness, tried to apologize once more, but Alex was resolute. This wasn't a matter of forgiveness, this was about reclaiming his life. He turned and walked out of the room, grabbing a suitcase from the closet. His mind was already racing, not with sadness but with a sense of finality. Sophia watched him, speechless, as he stuffed clothes into the suitcase. She reached for him, but Alex didn't look back. He was done. The emotional devastation was still there, but now it was mixed with a rising sense of empowerment. As Alex packed, he felt something inside him shift. The hurt was still there, but beneath it was something else, a determination. He was done being the victim in this scenario. Sophia had made her choice, and now it was time for him to make his. He didn't want to stoop to petty revenge, but he also wasn't about to let Sophia walk away without consequences. No, if she wanted to break his heart, she was going to see what life without him would really be like. And that wasn't going to be easy. He knew Sophia's biggest fear wasn't the affair being exposed, it was losing everything she had worked so hard to maintain: her reputation, her social standing, and her image. She had spent years cultivating this perfect life, and Alex would make sure she paid for taking it all for granted. He called Nina, his closest friend, who had been a steady source of support throughout his marriage. He needed help, not to heal but to plot his next move. "Nina," Alex said over the phone, his voice steady, "I need you to help me with something. I'm done with Sophia, but she needs to see the consequences of her actions. I won't just walk away quietly." Nina's response was immediate. "What do you have in mind?" Sophia's affair wasn't just a betrayal to Alex, it was a betrayal to their entire social circle. Sophia was a beloved figure among their friends and family, and Alex knew the social devastation of her affair would hit her harder than anything else. He didn't want to humiliate her in a way that would come back to haunt him, but he wasn't about to let her get away with it either. The first part of his plan involved subtly spreading rumors about the affair. Alex started mentioning to their close friends and acquaintances how Sophia had been acting distant and how he had recently discovered she was involved with someone else. He made sure it was clear that it wasn't just a casual fling, but an emotional relationship, one that Sophia had kept hidden for months. The gossip began to spread quickly. Their friends, once loyal to Sophia, started distancing themselves from her. At parties, in group chats, and at gatherings, people began whispering about the affair. Some even began to question Sophia's character. The facade of perfection she had spent years building started to crumble, piece by piece. Sophia tried to deny it at first, but the more she tried to cover up, the more it made her look guilty. She started to lose friends who could no longer ignore the obvious truth. Even her family became uncomfortable around her. They no longer saw the perfect daughter they had always adored. They saw someone who had lied, cheated, and broken the heart of the person who had loved her most. As the days passed, Sophia became increasingly desperate. The rumors about her affair with Liam were spreading like wildfire. Friends who had once adored her now avoided her. Family members began pulling away. Even the people who used to smile at her on the street now looked at her with pity or disgust. Her image, her perfect life, was crumbling. But Sophia wasn't going down without a fight. She had always prided herself on being the center of attention, the woman everyone admired. Now that her perfect world was unraveling, she wanted to fix it. She called Alex repeatedly, leaving him voicemail after voicemail, begging for his forgiveness. "Please, Alex, we can fix this. I made a mistake. I was lonely and I shouldn't have gone down this road. But we had something special. We can make it work again." But Alex, now free from the emotional fog that had once clouded his judgment, wasn't interested in hearing her pleas. He knew the truth now and there was no going back. He had seen the real Sophia, the woman who was capable of betrayal, who put her own desires above everything else, including the trust he had placed in her. One afternoon, after hearing another one of her tearful apologies, Alex decided it was time to end this for good. He was done being manipulated by her false promises. She had already shown him who she truly was, and that was all he needed to know. Sophia even showed up at Alex's apartment one night, standing at the door with tears in her eyes and a box of gifts in her hands. Flowers, chocolates, the things she thought would win him back. "Alex, please, I'm begging you," she said, her voice shaking. "Can't we start over? I've learned from my mistakes." Alex looked at her, but there was no trace of the man who had once been in love with her. No more sympathy, no more hope. He had already moved on from her in his heart. He took a deep breath and finally said with finality, "What we had is gone, Sophia. I'm not the same person anymore. And honestly, it wasn't that special." Her face crumbled, but Alex wasn't swayed. He stepped back, closed the door, and walked away from the past he'd shared with her. The pain of Sophia's betrayal still stung, but as Alex looked back on everything, he realized how much stronger he had become. The anger and hurt had slowly faded, replaced by a powerful sense of clarity. He no longer defined himself by the broken pieces of his marriage. He had taken control of his own life. He had thrown himself into personal growth, diving deep into his career and spending time with friends who had supported him. He'd even joined a gym, seeing it as a way to rebuild not just his body but his confidence. He began to look at life differently. For the first time in years, Alex was doing things for himself, things that made him feel alive. And then there was Nina. She had been his best friend through it all. Through the heartbreak, the late-night talks, the support. But recently something had shifted. Alex began to see her in a new light. One evening, after a long day at work, Alex invited Nina over to his apartment. They sat down, shared a bottle of wine, and reflected on everything that had happened. Alex couldn't ignore the way he felt about her anymore. She had always been there for him, supporting him when he needed it most. There was something comforting, something real, about the way they connected. "Nina," he said, his voice serious, "I've been thinking about us. And I want to be honest with you. I've realized that I've been blind to what's been in front of me for a while now." Nina looked at him, her eyes soft with understanding. "I know, Alex. You don't have to explain it." Alex took a deep breath. "No, I want to. I want to be more than friends. I care about you, Nina. I want to see where this could go." Nina smiled softly, a smile that held years of shared history between them. "I've always been here for you, Alex. And I think we both deserve something real." Their conversation was the beginning of something new. A new chapter for Alex, where the pain of the past no longer held him back. It wasn't about revenge, it was about healing, growing, and building something better. Sophia, meanwhile, was continuing her downward spiral. Her efforts to win back Alex had failed spectacularly. Every attempt to apologize only made her look more desperate. She had lost everything that mattered: her marriage, her friends, and her reputation. Even Liam, the man she had turned to when Alex had neglected her, had begun to distance himself. He had grown tired of the drama, and it was clear to him now that Sophia's emotional baggage was more than he was willing to carry. Sophia tried to call Alex again, hoping that maybe, just maybe, he would reconsider. But Alex had already moved on. He didn't pick up the phone. He didn't need to explain himself. The message was clear: Sophia had lost her chance. In an act of desperation, Sophia reached out to Liam, thinking she could salvage the remnants of the affair. But Liam, no longer interested, sent her a cold message saying, "This was never what I wanted. You need to deal with your own mess. I'm done." That was the final blow for Sophia. The man she had cheated with was now gone. Her perfect little escape had crumbled, and she was left alone, facing the consequences of her choices. As for Alex, life had never been better. He was more confident, happier, and healthier. He had learned one powerful lesson from this entire ordeal: don't settle for less than you deserve. In his new relationship with Nina, he found peace. They built something real, something based on trust, mutual respect, and love. Alex was no longer the broken man who had fallen victim to Sophia's lies. He was someone new, someone who had risen from the ashes of betrayal. Alex had faced betrayal, heartbreak, and despair. But through it all, he found strength in moving forward. He didn't let Sophia's actions define his life. Instead, he reclaimed his power, embraced his worth, and built a future that was brighter than he could have ever imagined. If you've ever felt betrayed, remember this: you don't have to stay broken. You don't have to let the past hold you back. Life has a way of showing you that sometimes, the best revenge is living a life so full and joyful that the person who hurt you becomes irrelevant. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe to Unheard Stories for more jaw-dropping tales of love, betrayal, and revenge. Leave a comment below. What did you think of Alex's journey? Would you have handled it the same way?